Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to I always forget which channel I'm on nowadays. Aquarius Rising Africa, and with our beautiful guest JESSIE CZEBOTAR again, and our lovely Morné at the bottom of my screen. There's always works of wonder around here. So I really want to just say welcome and thank you so much for joining us wherever in the world you are. Very grateful to have JESSIE here. She'll be joining us on solutions again after this. So get your cuppa, get your coffee, get your chai, whatever it is you enjoy, kick your feet up and enjoy us for the next couple of hours. So Jess, how's it been going with you, beautiful lady? And what's happening?
Very good. Yeah, I've been gallivanting and getting into a lot of shenanigans this week. Um, so,
I wish I was there.
right, I'll try to give you the lowdown here. The first thing, we're getting ready for launching course series that I've been preparing and stuff. So that's getting pretty close, and I'll give a heads up and encourage people to watch for tickets that are going to go on sale for July 30th in it'll be Miami, Florida. So there'll only be a certain amount, so be watchful for that.
That's amazing.
And then yes, and then a special thank you. We've had a lot of good response to individuals coming alongside of the My Liberty stand, and especially helping to support veterans and survivors who need help with household items. So wanted to give a big thank you to anybody who's helped and participated with that. And, just the little things we can do to make a difference in people's lives is wonderful. And we've had, we had a couple special needs this month for some of the survivors. And then we had a old pastor friend of mine who, all the way from childhood, I used to go to his church and perform puppet shows and, do different evangelistic outreaches. But he had had a house fire and lost everything a couple months back. And so we had put out just to ask for help, and we've had a really good response. So just this past month now, we've been able to send him it was like $1,750 towards, getting his household back up and running and getting into a permanent place. And that's important for, when you have elderly people who get displaced, that can be a really, really difficult time for them. So I just want to say thank you again for everybody who's helped with those special needs. And the other one was, one of our survivors had their big house. It's like a heating cooling unit go out, but it's pretty expensive at like $7,000. So far we've been able to raise like $2,945 towards that. So just a special thank you for everybody helping towards that.
Wow.
So.
Jess, you really are a walking, talking, live angel, aren't you? Really. I think what you're doing is amazing.
I don't know if the enemy would call me an angel, but I try to be.
You are.
Well, they know you are one, which is why they try and gnash at you so hard, but they're not getting very far. So anyway, that's just amazing. Thank you for that. Just before we get on to our topics for the day, I have a lot of questions and comments and things in the section, and just viewers asking about what's happened with you and Jeff from Right On Radio. Have things gone sour? Are you fighting? Is he jealous? I don't know, all sorts of things. So if you can just, from your...
We'll say no, maybe. No, I'm just, everything with Jeff is good. It's important for people not to pass rumors or fall into that. Jeff and I are good. We just had different visions right now for this season, for where God is directing us. And, the Lord is ready for me to kind of get more on my own and launch some new courses and shows and different things like that. So, you know, it's good to part ways sometimes, and you know, we
Absolutely.
all have different work that we're doing for the kingdom. So I just kind of want to put any rumors and things with that to rest. And I still promote, you know, I encourage people, especially, um, you know, there's a lot of good programs on Right on Radio. So I encourage people to still tune in to the Saturday night sermon at, let me think, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we, right after that on the main Telegram channel on Right on Radio, they have the Sing and Pour prayer group at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Wednesdays, there's, you know, the military analyst on podbean.com with Right on Radio. And I believe that's at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I encourage people to tune into those things and, you know, show your support. So a lot of good information still coming out of there.
And thank you again for always being as gracious as what you are. And so anyone who has any doubt, there you have it.
Yeah.
So it's true. We all we enter each other's lives. God sends us into each other's lives to do certain jobs for certain times. And just like we also, those of us working for companies or businesses, you stay there for a certain time and then you find something different or better or whatever, and you move on and you remember your colleagues fondly. Same story. So it's all good.
Right. We got to stop harassing too, because it's so funny. When I was on the show, I'd get all these harassments that Jeff was money hungry and was just using me for money. And, but then now that we part ways, they're like, coming up with all sorts of other things. And it's like, people, there's nothing like that. All of us have to make a living. And this is one of the ways that we make a living. And,
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. It just that in itself is very interesting, because there seems to be a lot of animosity from a lot of people because people have Patreons or they have sponsors for their channel or whatever, I've said it before, and it's just good to remember, those of us who do this, we don't get paid by anyone. So we rely on donations or we monetize our channels, whatever. We do it because we love it. So I know us, definitely. We do. It's not about the money. All I'm saying is it's not about the money. We do it because we love it. And if we get sponsored or supported, it's very, very, very gratefully received. And I mean, I know you, Jessie, with the funds you guys receive, as you're saying, I mean, you had a special needs case. I mean, it's well known amongst our circle how you support the veterans in those projects and stuff as well. So everyone is doing their bit. Let's all just work together. No need to fight and argue and point fingers and like that. We're just all in this together, having a good time while we're at it. So now I want to know, there's two topics that I have for you today. A couple of questions. We'll see how far we get. Because we're only doing an hour today. Jessie's on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa after this, so you can catch us there again, where we're going to be, amongst other things, talking about the recent school Texas shooting and what that was about. So stay tuned or tune in for that later. We'll let you know. But in the meantime, we've had some interesting questions as well about Donald Trump. So one of them I'd like to speak about is Donald Trump, and then another one is this whole Depp Heard fiasco. And as much as what I don't even like to think about them as celebrities, I really think something more is going on. So maybe we'll see if we can, how far we get after that. But someone sent in a question, and it's not the first time that we've been asked these questions. So I thought I would just ask you straight up. Is Donald Trump a Scottish Rite Mason, I think is what they asked him. I've also heard those rumors. I'm not going to tell a lie. I've definitely heard he's been in the system, and for every president, if you're a president of any country really, you would have had to have had grooming in the system. So, and especially where things are at right now, I would just love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot, I have a lot of good stuff to say about Trump, so I want to start with that. The truth is that nobody can really answer that question except for him. Um, are there ways we could try to find out? Absolutely. Um, if he were that, you know, it would be somewhere written within the Mason Chronicles where, they write the names of all their members in books that they keep at the lodges. So it'd be whichever, lodges he would be connected to, um, which would probably be similar to, the states that he's uh, gained residency in would be my guess. So, I'd encourage people, see if you can, get a connection into the Masonic Lodge and look through the books. Um, but with that apart, there's really no direct way to know unless somebody has picture proof, of his name in those books. If not, then, I look at, what he's been doing, and I think a lot has kind of passed over people's attention, especially in regards to, we'll say, the movement of children and the transportation of children unlawfully. Um, with that said, I encourage people to go back this week on my Twitter channel. I actually posted a couple of videos that were done several years back that I really wanted to point out that he was involved in. The first one is very significant because I believe it deals with my story. He ended up in 2018. He did a special talk with with ICE, who that's the group that they're in charge of. If we have people have immigrated into our country who are here unlawfully and they're doing horrific things like the MS-13 gangs, their job is to locate, find, and evacuate these people from our country, and it's a very difficult job. And I know that ICE has received documentation on how child movement, or the movement of children, was working through the tunnel systems, how the cities were built up by the Masons. So, what are the above ground indicators that tell them where to go? And so, part of that whole effort to inform individuals working on things like that, there was a significant email that I sent out that I've now come to just call trust. And with that, I talked about how many times as a kid I had attempted to tell people about what was going on. That included, teachers, pastors, different individuals in the community, that even included law enforcement, um, and FBI. So, um, with that said, one of the hardest things as a survivor is to come forward with our full story. As we do that, there's a lot of people who don't believe. Then, not only do they not believe, but they start to, claim that you're crazy or you're out of your mind. They encourage you to get mental health done. Once you go in for that, you know, um, a lot of the psychologists, and I'm not saying every psychologist or counselor, but many, will just start putting labels onto survivors. And, once you have those labels, they will encourage usually medication. And really, survivors end up in a place where they're not productive or unfruitful in the sharing of their testimony. They get silenced through that medication and that mental health programs that they get put into. And they end up in a place where they're worse off than when they started, because now they've got labels, they're silenced, and they've got individuals who are monitoring them and the information that they have to share. So, you know, that's a difficult place. And so, I asked the administration working with him, with Trump, you know, what does it look like for survivors? If you're going to be sending people out, if you're really in this fight to end, you know, the movement and transportation of humans that's been going on, um, what is the end result for these survivors? Are they just going to be, uh, put into mental health programs, getting a label slapped on them and, become ineffective? Or are you really going to make a difference at a community level where survivors can have a safe place to live, where they can not only just live there, but where they can be an effective part of their communities and, really live and be who God made them to be? We all have a purpose and a reason for life. And so, what's significant about that ICE video that went up, uh, they've cut off the full thing now on YouTube, but um, at the very beginning, when Trump went up to stand before them, he said that he had received a piece of paper on his desk, and it had simply said, give me your heart, give me your heart. And he said, that's what we're here to do today. And so after his speech, he has a panel of individuals that work and, coordinate and manage ICE. And they actually got up there and all of them began to share their hearts with the people who are doing the hard work. And they talked about how difficult it was in some of their most difficult cases and how hard it was to balance normal life with the horrific things that they had to see and do in their jobs. And that was, kind of one of the beginning framework for his administration and their efforts to end, the movement of humans and children. So, the next thing, I didn't get it up on my YouTube channel, but people can search for that same year, in 2008. I believe it was 18. It may have been the next year in 2019. But you can view the summit on human trafficking. And when you look at that, look at what was put into place. There was so much effort put into this. Not only did they do a report about that issue and problem, but they began to put a lot of things in place, including executive orders. So, orders that then made it really, or we'll say it made it so anybody who's, participating in the movement of children and humans online, that there would be severe consequences if they're caught. Um, you know, the other thing then is, looking at it as a worldwide problem, they recognized that there was a lot of movement of humans and children through the embassy systems between nations. So they put up a committee where those who head up this special committee for the embassies are individuals who have been formerly trafficked. So they're very familiar with how it works, how it operates. They're familiar with the safety needs of those trying to run or flee or get away from their captors. And they're able to set up so that they can have a safe place now at those embassies for survivors to come to. We've even had cases, here in the US where mothers get their children taken by CPS, and then those children are, moved internationally. Sometimes the mothers have even been kidnapped and also moved internationally and left in other countries. You know, so those embassies are a vital piece to ending what's been happening. You know, so that's huge. People can look up. There's now a national center that they also set up against child and human movement. I believe Chad Wolf is one of the major individuals who has been a part of that and overseeing that new building where people can go. So I want to remind people, you know, when we hear all these rumors about certain people, you know, we have to not be quick to judge hearts or to fall into that category of everybody must be connected or must be bad. You know, I've chosen to, you know, continue to support, uh, you know, Trump because I believe, you know, he has been one of the greatest individuals in our time to really confront this issue that, you know, that our media and our politicians are hesitant to even speak about. Nobody else has been up there speaking about it, talking about this massive issue. Besides, um, you know, the journalist Timothy Charles Homseth and the task force. So I encourage people, you know, follow Trump, see what he's doing, follow Timothy Charles Homseth, follow the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, because these are really the only people who are making this mainstream and breaking, you know, the news about what's happening. And we need to really, you know, I want to know, why is it not mainstream media? It needs to be. It is such a huge issue. And every survivor out there, you know, this is for us. Everything this administration is doing is for us and for those who are bound in that darkness of human trafficking. And we need to, you know, really make an effort to promote it, to get it out there, to tell our stories, and to continue to, you know, really promote and spread each other's stories, because this is how we're going to create the awareness of what is happening and what's going on.
I couldn't agree more. I have a question also regarding Trump, which is on a lot of people's lips. There seem to be rumors going around that he is no longer with us as well, that he has crossed over maybe more than a year ago now already. What do you say to that?
Well, less than a year ago, some of those same rumors, you know, were saying that certain generals were suing Trump because he refused to pay them for the work that they were doing, you know, and when that, I'll just say right off the bat, you know, they're lies, they're rumors. I fully believe that. You know, nobody entered this fight that we're in against, you know, the child and human movement and transportation for money. Not a single person entered into that with that contract deal. And, you know, I can guarantee that Trump did not offer to pay anybody, because those who are at the top of that movement, nobody's getting paid, including he himself. So, you know, with that said, you know, what is the real story behind all that? You know, I believe that the real story has to do with trying to silence somebody coming forward. What is Trump coming forward with? It's this, you know, movement to end the human and child trafficking. And how is he doing that? You know, he has gone legally now against, we'll say HRC and her foundation. And at that legal level, you know, he's going after them for RICO, for trafficking, racketeering. You know, so I believe it's a concerted effort that when they couldn't, you know, get him on the money slam, and take him down that way and silence him from going forward with that case, then they started wanting to create this fear and doubt in people and say, oh, he's dead, it's really not him. And, you know, what is the fear behind that? Then they're also pushing special, I'll say, priori information, claiming that, you know, that if JFK Jr. is alive, and even claiming in some cases Trump himself are, you know, part of the seed of Mary Magdalene, which is, you know, this Cain theology, and pushing that, you know, their major bloodline, and with that, you know, that they're the false Messiah, the Antichrist. And so what does it do if Trump then comes back on the scene? You know, then people are fearful, saying, oh my gosh, he is the Antichrist, you know, or JFK Jr. is the Antichrist. And, you know, so it's all this disinformation that is meant to confuse, to cause division, to cause strife, and to really silence, at a judicial level, the truth that's being brought forward. And so we need to not fall into these rumors. We need to not spread them. You know, we need to really make an extra effort to get stories out there and to make sure that this information is not silenced.
I always like to look at things happening by God's hand. So even if it's a crazy, chaotic situation, I like to always see God in everything as to what is the gift through this experience and what do we need to learn through all of this, you know? And I think that for me has really worked over the years. I think we can't deny that millions of Americans have made Trump their hero. And I think that that's dangerous, because to put anyone on a pedestal is a problem. So what do you say to those people that have put Trump on a pedestal, as opposed to you need to take responsibility for yourself and pray that, yes, he's a great leader, and that as a leader, he can take us into a better way and obviously expose all these dirty shenanigans that have been going on for so long. But, you know, I always think, yes, we do need very good leaders on our planet, but we need to help them lead, if that makes sense. So how do you think the transition should come from making Trump their hero and thinking that he's going to sort out all the crap that ever existed, which is not possible for any human being, I'm sorry.
No.
And to actually saying, well, let's claim him as our leader, but how can we help him lead?
Absolutely. You know, I think, you know, to remember that he is just a man. You know, he's not a God, he's not our God, and we only have one Savior. And there's videos of him even coming out saying that around Christmas time. You know, he admits, I am not your Savior. We only have one Savior, and he points to Jesus Christ. So, you know, we need to keep things in their proper perspective, that it's God's work to bring about, you know, his plans in the end times. And he's promised that in these last days, he will set the captives free. So who's the main one who's setting the captives free? It's the Lord. And has he chosen good men and women in that fight to fulfill his will? He has. So that's all Trump is a good man who, and we'll use that term, broadly. What
Yeah.
really constitute a good man's heart? I was one of those children that was stuck in that system. For me at that time, I was crying out for anyone. I wanted just one person to hear and believe and help me get out. So, to me, that constitutes in this moment a good man. That if he's getting out at least one child, if he's helping out at least one survivor, um, you know, I will give him that honor and respect. But,
Absolutely.
we need to be careful to not elevate people to that status of godhead or to hold them as an idol. Um, we need to remember that they are human. And as humans, he's in this horrific fight against the system that, who is able to bring it down? It's taking a group of individuals to do it. It's taking many nations coming together, including heads of China, including heads of Russia. Um, you know, all of us are having to come together to bring this system down, both the dark side and the light side. And, behind the scenes, you don't just have Trump doing all the work. You literally have a team of people that's made up of dark side of the system members, it's made up of light side of the system members, and it's made up of good Christians. And they are all working together to bring the system down because they don't want to be under the headship of the system anymore. So people have come out of that system and they're giving their wisdom, their knowledge, their understanding of how things work to bring it down and working collectively to do so. Everything that we see happening now is about, that work. So everything is about that work. And the system is trying to keep, its illegal form of money making, which involves, horrific things that are being done to humans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I think with programming, there's like this huge programming going on, especially for all the hero movies since the 80s. I think like the hero complex that creates this hero complex, like one person, one Captain Planet, or one Spider-Man, or one Superman, and it all connects back to our. Yeah, Captain Planet was my favorite, but anyways, but it all comes back to our God complex, I believe, where we think we need to, in order to avoid the stuff that we need to sort out within ourselves, we think we need to go out and save others. So we've got this complex going on, and they're using that program. I'm just thinking, Jessie, you could add to this. They're using this programming, especially now with the Euro movies going up now, that there's one thing that's going to save us, keeping us away from ourselves. Does that make sense? Do you know about this programming?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's, what it falls under is the End Time Voice of God project and the I Am project. And, we all know that I Am is the Hebrew name that the Lord gave Moses when he said, "Who shall I tell the people has sent me to deliver them?" The Lord said, "Tell them I am," and that was the name he went by. And, so that program is very specific where, those who are raised up as the heroes are put in that same perspective or position as God in that program, and, they're taught or believed that in a way that they are gods and that they've ascended to that place. So it's a very dangerous program, you know, when men think that they are God. And I would encourage people, you know, to be very careful, to be very leery of anybody putting themselves in that status. And, you know, we look at in those movies who then are the people, you know, playing those roles. You know, are they displaying different forms of ancient gods that were worshipped? And, you know, what happens then, you know, in real life is that people are continuing to worship these Hollywood actors who are playing these gods, but they don't understand that many of these actors are really involved in not just Freemasonry, but the Brotherhood system. And that part of that Brotherhood Illuminati system is that their end time belief is that they will ascend to that place to become their own god in their own right. That's, you know, go back through all the teachings of books I've encouraged people to read, like, you know, Initiates of the Flame. And that's the end result, is that, you know, men find the immortal stone, which is everlasting life. And when they reach that state, you know, they declare that they are a god because they've ascended. So that's the Brotherhood's end time agenda. And it's all around us. It's being put in front of our faces, those beliefs and, you know, and those that they're promoting and elevating in those beliefs. And so we need to be very careful.
I couldn't think of a better place to take it from there into the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp situation right now, speaking about people who think they're gods or goddesses in the Hollywood scene. As I said earlier, I'm not one that follows celebrities, but I must say Johnny Depp has been around forever. I've seen a lot of his movies. And quite frankly, in my opinion, he's probably one of the best chameleon actors out there currently. What I mean by that is that he takes on so many different roles so easily and does it so well, you know. So whatever is going on with him and Amber Heard right now, I heard the rumblings of it happening, but it's just on your news feed all the time, you know. So, you know, we can look at this in the sense of, okay, it's highlighting that not just women are being abused, that men are also being abused, you know? So maybe it has that kind of integrity to it. And I'm not saying that's wrong, because if that's what it's showing a lot of people, that's fantastic, because I think a lot of that kind of stuff does happen behind the scenes anyway, a lot more than what we even think about. But in your opinion, what is the shenanigans behind the scene? Because I know that he's from the vampire lineage. We've spoken about that before. So he's far from the sweet and innocent little Johnny boy who was whacked by Amber and did all sorts of terrible things. And I want to talk about some of the things that those two got up to. But crazy. So what is your opinion on what's happening? Yeah, just from what you know.
Quite frankly, you know, I get offended because it really takes away from, it desensitizes people to certain terms, and that takes away from real victims, I believe, you know. And so, you know, whether those terms are sexual abuse or physical abuse, or, you know, the concept of even men being abused, let's look at the reality here. We know Johnny is a vampire. He's been public with that, especially with his music group, the Hollywood Vampires. You know, I have direct witness contact of young girls that were engaged with the bands, that kind of are in that circle of vampires. And, you know, they were coming along the coastlines, building connections with young girls, and then they would invite those girls to parties as they come through, and they would use them as feeders. So, you know, do I believe that Johnny is a poor me, I've been abused type person? I really don't have any Johnny feelings in that. You know, he's very high level high priest. He also comes from bloodline family of the French line vampires. So, you know, he's a royal vampire blood. Come on, Johnny, you know, let's be a man. You know, he participates in very dark ninth circle occultic things. So, you know, I don't believe the case is really about abuse and who's been abused and who's not. You know, with that said, you know, his ex is coming right alongside of him, which tells you, you know, the type of woman that she is. Do I believe she's a strong abuser too? I do. Absolutely. May she have been so bad that it scared the hell out of Johnny? Well, there's a possibility of that. You know, I think we really need to bring out the truth about these women who are involved in this brotherhood occult. You know, I lived near 5 of them that were the top of the system, and, you know, people still have trouble believing my story of the things that I witnessed or saw at the hands of just one of these women. You know, but when you put them all together, it was absolutely terrifying, you know, and then you add people like HRC into that mix and other high level high priests and grand high priestesses. You know, I've talked about on David Zublik about Gloria Vanderbilt, one of the grand high priestesses, and the things that she did with doll houses and making dolls and making, you know, using those dollhouse scenes as a horrible form of divination and fortune telling before she was gonna, you know, murder or take people out. So, you know, when we start to look at the horrible truths of this brotherhood religion and system, you know, it's terrifying. And are Johnny and Hearst a part of that, or Heard a part of that? Absolutely, they are. And that's what it's really about, you know. And, you know, what was happening with this case, you know, it started back a year ago in France when they first pulled him in. And, you know, we had then these weird women. You know, I know the name of the group and people can research it, but I can't say it right now. But we had women dressed in ceremonial red clothing. They claimed to be a climate change group who just happens to be in that area, you know, in front of where the trial's going on for Johnny. But who were they really? They're Sisters of Light. You know, and what does Sisters of Light do? They're part of the extra security team of the Brotherhood system, and they protect Grand High Priest and priestesses in their time of need. And, you know, they'll send out plagues and disease and famine, all sorts of stuff to cause havoc in the climate when they're doing their protection and their security. So it's like, what are the chances these women just happen to show up and be in that area? You know, it's not by chance. It's very strategic.
Wow.
And it really tells you the level that Johnny and his ex are operating at.
And I think it's so important that we get to know these things, because it's so true, because we know now that so much of the stuff, these guys are manipulating energy, they're using it for the dark, they are doing these things without even being there. So nothing can be planted on them. There's no physical proof that they were there, but they've got, as you say, all the witchy things going on. What do you think is the fight between Amber and Johnny? What are they fighting for? What is this? Do you think it's both of them playing their best acting roles ever, and behind the scenes they're having a ball together and laughing? Or do you think there's something very real going on there between the two of them, that this chaos has ensued?
I think that they're both in trouble. And, you know, the best way to do that is, or to combat, you know, that is to try to shift blame. The first thing we have to ask is, you know, these are high-level people who usually every sin, every crime that they commit is going to be covered up by the system. So the first thing we have to ask is, why is it not being covered up by the system? That tells us that somebody has real evidence that can't be, you know, that the system has no control over. So they're going to have to try to manage the aftermath of that evidence. You know, so this is part of their way of trying to manage that. And I do believe there was a huge fight, you know, to try to get control of that evidence. And I think that that's what we saw in France over a year ago. Right across from that area is the big bank in France. And after the witchy people were in front of it, climate control people, it was like a couple weeks after that was when that bank just spontaneously combusted and started on fire. So I think that that was a huge effort to gain control of the evidences that they don't want coming out to the public of what this grand high priest and priestess have been doing.
It's the
you know, I believe, I believe it involves, you know, the movement of children. I believe it involves cannibalism. I believe it involves adrenochrome. And I think that's the evidence they don't want you to see, because as I've said, Johnny's connected with the ninth circle. Who else do we know is connected with the ninth circle? The royals, you know, Queen Elizabeth. And what was she doing to children?
I've been accused. But I'm not, I promise.
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
So now when we really start looking behind the scenes, it shows us what's really going on. And this is what I say, you know, us humans are so gullible to have our opinions. Just another divide and conquer psyop, in my opinion. I actually read somewhere or heard something as well that this was a white hat psyop, that he's actually a white hat actor now. And I don't know, that to me just is such nonsense. I don't know.
Well, you have to ask, why is it not being dealt with high-level black magic? Because in the system, if there was really an issue between two parties, they would be on the battlefield doing a witchy battle until one of them died, or, you know, was until the matter was settled, until they came to an agreement. And it's being dealt with lawfully. So that tells you who's in control of the situation. You know, when do high-level players get dealt with lawfully? You know, why can't he use his witchy powers and settle the matter? Well, it's because people who are working with the hand of God are in control of the matter. So he is bound under God's control now. And, you know, that's been our prayer all along. You know, as the Lord desires that none should perish. With that said, you know, we pray for the salvation of all of these individuals. You know, we pray that they come out and that their testimonies and their stories are heard. But at the same time, it does not mean that they get a free pass. You know, they have to be held responsible for the horrific things that they have done. So, you know, for those who do come out and who are willing to work with um, the white hats or the good guys to give their testimony and to take their responsibility for their crimes, you know, I got to give them a hand of applause. Um, you know, I want to encourage them, keep going, keep doing it, you know, because the truth has to be known and has to be told. And, you know, God forgives for those who confess, and we should as well forgive if they confess and admit to those wrongs.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. I think that's wonderful. I think this is great information, Jess, that we've had around this today, because for me, it just fits. Especially now, I wasn't aware of what happened in France. And you're talking about the group of whatever they are.
climate control people.
Yeah, climate control people. Interesting, because I actually heard, again, just in passing, her lawyer was saying that they actually won the case in England, from what I can understand, prior to this. So they were kind of expecting, I think, at least somewhat of a win, but she lost woefully. But they were saying a lot of stuff in this court case was suppressed, her evidence. I mean, I didn't listen to much of it. I listened to some of it, a little bit of her, a little bit of him. They both speak such nonsense. They're both acting something ridiculous. I mean, Johnny Depp is just morbid the way he's acting right now. But I don't know. What do you say about that?
About the way that he's acting? You know, I don't believe either of them are really victims. You know, I believe a lot of it has been willing consent all along. And, you know, you get who you get when, you know, I don't think either of them didn't know who they were getting. I think that they made that match because they both knew, you know, the power and the dark side that the other was in, and they were drawn to that. And, you know, maybe they did change their minds after they really realized who one another was. But, you know, you got to ask, what is it really about? You know?
Do you think couples, like, it's just something, I mean, I'm thinking of even Brad and Jennifer and Brad and Angie and like him and her, are they placed together? Are they kind of forced, maybe not overtly, but covertly put together, or not? Or, you know, do they just, these guys randomly meet and just bang it out like the rest of us do? Because it seems to me like there's a lot of these celebrity couples, not just the actors and actresses, but all the positions of power, these marriages or these couples are arranged. So do you think that they were arranged, or did they just meet and like get random?
Usually, like with that arrangement, usually the system, you know, approves of a couple individuals, so they do get to choose within that who they feel like they align with best. And then if things are not working out, you know, they can go on to another individual. That's usually how it works. But, you know, unless they have a really high profile match that, you know, there are times where the system does not give them a choice, and, you know, they're stuck with that one person that the individual has chosen for them. So.
Yay. Well, Jess, I'm looking at our time, so I'm going to say thank you so much for that amazing information. It really rings true for me, just what's happening behind the scenes. And I'm just so grateful that I have you in my life to tell me all these little things. Thank you, Jess. Do you want to maybe just close for us in prayer before we're going to meet up in about 30 minutes? So that'll be 3:15 for us. I don't know what the time is there for you. So let's say 3:15. So I can just know, but in literally, 35 minutes from now. So you can refresh, have your bathroom break, get another cup of tea, and join us for Solutions with Jessie on Solutions with Aquarius Rising with Jessie, where we're going to be talking about the recent Texas shootings at the school and stuff, and the kiddies and what have you. But if you wouldn't mind just closing in prayer for us in the meantime.
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time together, and we thank you, Lord, that you are laying all things bare, that you're bringing all the darkness to the surface. And I thank you that we can see it plainly now. And I ask that you would continue to give clarity, wisdom, and understanding as we see these things. And I ask that you would break that veil of confusion that's been over us, that we may see clearly, that no longer would we be in a place where we are wavering in indecision or in not fully understanding. But may we have the knowledge and that understanding to discern what really is going on, and to be able to take a stand for the truth in all things. And so I thank you that you've given us your truth, and we ask that you would help us to continue to walk forward in that and not be swayed from the real problems, but let us be those who are the biggest voices for the true problems in our world today. So we thank you for this and just ask for that blessing in your powerful name, Jesus. Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful guys and girls. Thank you so much for joining us for this really very, very cool chat with Jessie today. I think I've definitely had some answers from both the Donald Trump as well as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard answered. I think I feel really good about that. So I hope you guys do too. Join us in 30 minutes from now on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa, and where we're going to be chatting further with our beautiful Jessie. Thanks, guys. God bless you all. Take good care.